Welcome everyone to our webinar about the kitchen of the future. My name is Leonie. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I'm leading the kitchen and bath department of Cosentino in the United States and Canada. I'm originally from Germany, as you will hear by my accent. And I've been working the past 7 years for Cosentino in many different countries, but mainly in South Africa, Asia, and nearly all of the European countries. Cosentino Group is a global Spanish family-owned company that produces and distributes silestone, deckstone, sensor, and natural stone. The results of the study I will present today in this webinar are from one of the most recent studies of the Global Kitchen Project. The study was realized by the Silestone Institute, which is an international platform dedicated mainly to the study and sharing of knowledge regarding the subject of kitchen. Related to its design and use of space. It is a published study with now 2 volumes, and today we will cover the first volume. So this seminar will discuss the findings from the Global Kitchen Study Volume 1 I just mentioned, and where internationally renowned experts across various disciplines and countries share their insights into global trends, uses of the kitchen, and the role of the spaces we will inhabit in the future. You will learn about the research and examination of various spatial, social, technological, and lifestyle concepts. And the idea is to empower you, the design professionals, with the ability to anticipate what will be the kitchen of the future and to have together this discussion about what will come in the next years. So let's have a look on the agenda. We will discuss the global driving forces that will shape the kitchen of the future, what defines the kitchen on a global scale, the evolution of kitchen. We will determine if global driving forces also mean globalization of the space we call kitchen. We will define haute cuisine and determine its role today. And finally, discuss a new design approach, taking into consideration all the mentioned points. The Global Kitchen Study Volume 1 is a study drawing conclusions from the opinions of 17 international experts as Michelin star-ranked chefs, architects, a gerontologist, award-winning designers, and as well a professor and a scientist from Harvard. For those of you who don't know what a gerontologist does, it is a scientist specialized on aging. And the gerontologist of this study is Patricia Moore. If you don't know her, I recommend to Google her because she's a remarkable woman. She's an American industrial designer who was named 2016 as the most notable American industrial designer in the history. And she did something very special. In 1979, at the age of 26, she began an experiment. And for 3 years, she dressed up as a woman of 85 years and traveled through the United States and Canada. She visited more than 116 cities, 14 states, 2 provinces in Canada to experience how elderly people manage their daily lives and how they experience traveling. And after that experiment, she specialized in developing new products and services for customers of all ages. As well, 842 industry professionals were surveyed and consulted. Those experts and industrial professionals are from 7 different countries as Australia, Italy, Portugal, Spain, Sweden, United Kingdom, and United States. Continuing, we will discuss the global driving forces that will shape how we use the space, how we interact in it, the technology which will be used, and the influence they will have on our lifestyles. It is important to highlight and recognize that we will be facing 3 major challenges, which are space shortage in urbanized spaces, food shortage and energy shortage, especially in growing populations. Those challenges are nothing new to any one of us, as we have had to address them already in the past. But it is the opinion of all the experts consulted in this study that these obstacles will be even more dominant in the future and will need our increased focus and attention. So before we begin discussing the challenges that lie ahead, let's first define the kitchen. For many in the Western or industrial world, the kitchen is a version of this picture. It is a designated room with cooking appliances, including work surfaces, and an area to sit and enjoy a meal. But as Richard Wrangham, who's one of the experts consulted of this study and professor of biological anthropology at Harvard University, highlights, there are people who live in one-room households featuring a small fireplace with stones and crossed sticks from which to hang a pot. And actually, for billions of people, that is the kitchen. And the contrast is extraordinary. In Western countries, we have a room dedicated specifically to food preparation. And in other places, the kitchen is just a corner of the room next to where we sleep. So Richard Wrangham states, the amazing thing is that what defines a home worldwide is the kitchen. And that's true, because whether you live in Boston or in Tanzania, you can be anywhere in the world, and the human experience of cooking is exactly the same. Preparing food and waiting while it cooks, sometimes done alone and other times with people around you. So moving forward in this webinar, we will focus on the kitchen we find or will find in the developed and industrialized countries. So now that we have defined the kitchen, let's have a look at its most recent history. Throughout the 20th century, the kitchen went from being a space where the family gathered together to an efficient meal preparing space. The aim was to apply the professionalism of work as well in the home, and the scientific management being applied in factories was actually transferred to the kitchen. This influence started in the US in the 1910s and 1920s and moved to Europe about 10-20 years later. It is part of a modernist design-driven idea of a work triangle, which proposes that the sink, refrigerator, and oven should all be in a particular triangular arrangement. In the 1960s, the work triangle was renamed as work areas, and the kitchen was transformed from a family gathering place to a space designed to only one person, a woman, who was isolated from the rest of the family. Nowadays, the kitchen is becoming a kind of a living room and dining room. We're going back to centralize the kitchen. And the space will continue to grow so that all family activities which once took place in separate rooms will occur again in the same place, which we will continue calling kitchen. Now, let's discuss if the global trends mean as well global uniformity. It is important to underscore the duality of the kitchen as a quick and efficient workspace that also serves as a cohesive social element. The social component should give it a stronger presence in the home because it is the place where people meet and connect. And it's funny because one would think that the connectivity that unites us all makes us lose our identity, but nothing could be further from the truth. This wonderful dialogue that exists, rooted in the observation that we are all different, causes a revitalization and strengthening from the recognition by others of how beautiful our own culture is. Chef Gaston Acurio, who's the chef and owner of the Astrid and Gaston restaurant in Lima, Peru, has made the following observation I would like to quote. What happened until very recently? Children in the Andes or Amazon, influenced by TB, rejected their ancestral recipes. Feeling sidelined from economic life, They embraced products that were not indigenous to their own cultures as a way out of the reality in which they felt was somehow inferior to what they saw on TV. So it is clear that right now we're in a predominant moment in the history of mankind. For thousands of years, cuisine has been based on diversity, product seasonality, not having to discard food because of its appearance, and where people valued craftsmanship and grandmother's recipes. However, all that was lost with a lifestyle promoted by an industry that made us believe that we had to go for standardization and for mass production in the past years. And after 100 years following these habits brought on by industrialization and a connecting world forced us actually to begin recovering our heritage and again appreciate our diversity and awareness. The kitchen today is regaining its place. We started to accept that being connected does not make us equal. We started to see the beauty of our culture and we want to share it with others. Localism and traditions are trendy. People want to know about roots and history. How many people have done a DNA test about their family history? Right now, there are 26 million people who have done such a DNA test. And actually in 2018, there was the biggest increase in history. Today, we celebrate uniqueness and cultural differences. It makes us value our differences and we embrace aspects of various cultures. For example, think about fusion cuisine. Therefore, a cultural imperative will make the kitchen of the future completely different from what we expect today. It will be a better reflection of how people live, their lifestyle, and local community. The connected world has made us put the focus on diversity and awareness in the kitchen. It is important, though, to highlight that there are strong differences depending on the location and culture. So when we talk about the kitchen of the future, we must therefore also discuss haute cuisine. The different types of cuisine run along parallel lines. There is popular, traditional, regional, cross-cultural cuisine, and at the tip of the pyramid, haute cuisine, leading in creativity and innovation. And nevertheless, a lot of knowledge discovered in haute cuisine then ends up becoming traditional cuisine. All of this leads us really to a better understanding of the products we eat every day. Today, the strengthening of our local identity leads us to trust our own culture and peacefully celebrate our differences. Part of the reason for this change is that chefs have become professionals to whom one can speak to, or you can follow them on social networks, and that makes them much more influential. There is a positive impact on consumer minds, and definitely there is a shift in the value of cooking. People nowadays seek inspiration in chefs, and many of them aspire to become one. Today, chefs are the new rock stars. There are hundreds of television shows, there are cooking books, and chefs are opening their own restaurants across the country. And it's a trend. Cooking is no longer just for sustenance. It is a lifestyle. As well, when we talk about haute cuisine, we must highlight that haute cuisine plays an important role in advocating issues related to healthier eating, the environment, generating economic opportunities, and fair production. So another clear influence today is that we use less meat, but more seafood and vegetables. We're becoming more aware of how to consume more vegetables and as well how to cook them properly. It is therefore vital to think about how we can foster the use of forgotten vegetables instead of resorting to mass production. Otherwise, what will happen is that farmers will only grow carrots, onions, and broccoli. And that's what we're going to have to eat for the rest of our lives. Many vegetables that are now grown in small quantities will not be grown again. Therefore, we need to foster the forgotten vegetables. The way forward is to preserve healthy food and to source products carefully and not just rely on specific foods that could end up being mass-produced. All of this leads us to a completely new design approach. It was always form follows function, but now it's design follows the storytelling the end user experience. The design must reflect how the user wants to experience in the space still called kitchen. Once that is successfully achieved, the design will follow. The great technological innovation in coming years focuses on appliance connectivity. Having connected products enables us to think more of the experience than the design itself. And the design has changed a lot in the last 15 years. People still think that designers design shape and radius and geometry. And yes, we still do that. But we also seek to talk about the story and the experience. So being able to design the experience involves, on the one hand, knowing a product's context of use, and on the other hand, knowing how it is used. And appliances can offer this functionality. As designers, the challenge is to create an entirely new environment. And as well, we have to be much braver when it comes to changing the rules. We can't think of designing a kitchen along the same lines as we did 100 years ago. Manufacturers still follow a traditional approach. In other words, they install their cabinets, leave some space, and then we come along with appliances to fill them. But it would be much better if, from an innovation and design standpoint, all professionals involved in kitchen design could work together from the scratch. So we could think, for example, about how to design the whole kitchen experience. And it's funny because we are still living by standards of almost 100 years ago, when we lived in different houses with different spaces and different products. So in terms of kitchen design, there are two concepts that are going to be increasingly relevant, and those are flexibility and customization. The kitchen will adapt to the user's experience. It will adapt to the different generations using the space, and customizable materials depending on user's preference or mood and the occasion will be much more important. There is an attractive element when it comes to kitchen design, but what matters is for the kitchen to adapt to the experience of each user. And the kitchens will evolve because we need elements in our daily lives that can adapt easily to different situations and to each person's specific characteristics. So for example, the working height of a countertop will be adjustable to the needs of the different generations using the same space. We should be able to choose at all times what fits us. And some people have to work sitting down or in a wheelchair, and a small child should be able to help mom and dad to prepare food. And think of our grandparents who will experience or are experiencing reductions and have less physical strength. And they should be able to prepare a meal with comfort and safety. Customizable materials, depending on user's preference or mood and the occasion, will be key elements in the kitchen of the future. Nowadays, we can change a light fixture or some other elements, mostly design options, but it could be more ambitious. For example, Kitchen furniture today is made mainly out of wood or melamine, but it could be made as well out of other materials as glass or any other material changing the color. So this would allow us, for example, having a red kitchen at night because I've invited my friends to an Asian dinner, or white in the morning because I want to create a natural mood. It would be interesting to be able to create atmospheres that could adapt to our public experiences. So again, there is a design element, but what really matters for the kitchen of the future is being able to adapt to the experience of each user. So in the future, we won't go to the kitchen. Appliances, storage spaces, and food preparation areas will come to us. The next generations of kitchen will embrace flexibility and enhance individual ability. Kitchens will continue to become more flexible. We won't rely on connected cabinets, and it can be that maybe some elements like water sources and cooking station will become movable. We will understand the kitchen, including appliances, rather as a piece of furniture than integrated elements. A new concept of the kitchen will emerge that will differ greatly from the definition we have known for centuries. The kitchen will adapt more and more to people. So, for example, if we don't feel well, we'll be able to make a cup of tea or even self-medicate without even getting out of bed. The evolution of the kitchen we will witness will focus around food islands, spread around all the rooms of the house to meet the needs of every resident for their lifespan. So the new design approach must include lifespan design, which will support aging in place concept. Aging in place, this design initiative that insists that we all have a right to the home of our choosing for the entirety of our lives. Every design must deliver on the promise of a dignified existence, and the design helps us to thrive all our days. Self-care, meaning independently taking care of oneself. Some say this will trigger a form of decentralization of the kitchen in some cases, where the food island we require when we are sick can be placed to our bed and where we can make a cup of tea. Activities traditionally located in the kitchen will be spread throughout all the rooms in a house. Home care. As technology advances, we will have more and more opportunities for the kitchen to include and adapt to new forms and features. We can all move towards a healthier lifestyle, and the kitchen can help us with that. So this trend is pretty clear. We all want to buy fresh products and buy from farmers markets or grown our own food. We are witnessing an integration of technologies in the kitchen, and we will be able to put, for example, a whole chicken in the oven and it will be weighed automatically. By pushing a button, it will detect the humidity level and the program will determine how to cook it so the meat is just right, perfectly moist inside and golden crisp outside. And as well, the relationship between agriculture and the kitchen will be more synergistic. In North America, for example, farmers markets are a growing trend. You have them in every big city. People want to buy fresh products, cut out the supermarket as possible as it is, and feel as close to nature as possible. Based on this trend, we all will grow more at home. We will leverage a smarter arrangement featuring, for example, hydroponic systems and LED lights to combat pesticides. These systems can already be used to grow some vegetables, but they will expand progressively and a different infrastructure will be required. Another reason is that the sustainable development is the hallmark going forward because we simply can no longer ignore the need for sustainably sourced food. In general, the food system will witness a 360-degree cycle. As just mentioned, in the future, we will be able to grow some of our food at home. People even may join forces to share patios, and we will garden with friends. And we will use technology to get information from the garden as it's time to fertilize and remember to add water. Composting will be even more important. We will be able to manage waste more effectively, and we will learn how to use surplus food either to prepare other dishes or for use as composting fertilizer for kitchen-grown food. Therefore, that means kitchens will be smart, and they will help us to save resources. The circular economy takes into account the entire value chain of a product. The life of the product, the attraction of its resources, and where the generated waste ends up. And following this line of thought, extending the line of a home kitchen should involve all industry. The appliance manufacturing process, especially for larger appliances, has to be environmentally friendly. The manufacturing time for a washing machine, for example, has been slashed by 75%. Same with materials for countertops that incorporate recycled content. What measures are taken to minimize the impact on the immediate environment during the manufacturing process is really important. The kitchen of the future will leverage all the circular economy principles. In this type of economy, the value of products, resources, and material is made for as long as possible, while at the same time cutting down on waste. Circular economy principles can be applied in environments where families acquire habits that take into account energy efficiency, material, eco-diet, and efficient water use. Now, they are only prospects, but it is important that we all start considering what we buy, what we cook, how we cook, and everything we are wasting. So until now, we talked of a sustainable kitchen driven by 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. And that concept now is outdated. The multi-R approach is the hallmark of a sustainable kitchen appliances. So it includes rethink, redesign, repair, reuse, recycle, remanufacture, but also rethink the services that substitute these products. The idea is to reduce meaningless purchases for the sake of owning the latest model on the market. Likewise, the greatest technological innovations in terms of sustainability in recent years has been associated with everything to do with energy efficiency. The fact of consuming less power implies that the remaining energy can continue circulating around the same living area. So, what are the key deciding factors for choosing good materials? We talked about that, sustainability, and then harmony from a standpoint of colors and shapes. Health, are they healthy from a standpoint of what are the ingredients within those materials? And this especially is an increasing concern of younger generations with children. Durability, is the product built to last a long time? And technology, is it the best from a technological standpoint? So the evolution, another great example are surfacing materials. And some manufacturers of surfacing materials are very concerned about the environment and have integrated like several energy saving procedures into the manufacturing process. So some energy saving strategies can be water recovery and reprocessing, dust recovery and reprocessing, raw material waste and reuse, heat recovery, and automated transport systems. So, the evolution of the home kitchen will lead us as well to an integration of the different devices. The kitchen of the future will be smart. And the most visible revolution in the coming years will be the presence of the internet in the kitchen. And this has not yet happened. We expect appliances to cook, but also help us in other ways and be energy efficient. As for example, with built-in intelligence, connecting with family members, connecting with other appliances, and they can be controlled by a single device or by remote. So this will mean that kitchen devices will play a completely new role and will support the social environment within the household. The kitchen is becoming an important social hub within the home, both in terms of size and location. Kitchens are being built closer and closer to the living room, which is where families traditionally spend most of their time together. And over the next 25 years, technology will further boost this trend. We are moving towards a smart home, and the kitchen will not be an exception. The smart home will actually promote many changes in how family members interact with their home and will transform single function devices that had to be controlled physically into truly multifunctional devices that can be controlled from everywhere. So the integration of the internet in kitchen appliances will be the next great revolution we will experience in the kitchen. The kitchen will be one of the areas in the house that will evolve the most. First, routinious tasks will no longer take up our time because machines will do them autonomously. Artificial intelligence will enable devices to operate without help, and routinious tasks will be eliminated. The house will learn and adapt to the family's behavior patterns. It's going to be really easy because we will be able to manage them from anywhere and include them in our daily routines to make our lives easier. We will see how less attractive tasks like washing clothes will become increasingly invisible. So appliances will, for example, wash our clothes or our dishes while we are away. And this will no longer take up our time because machines will do them without supervision. Second is safety. The first thing that will happen is that the most hostile elements will be eliminated, and everything taking place in the kitchen will be safer. And if there's ever an incident, we will be alerted in real time, which will allow us to avoid many problems and dangerous situations. The more hostile or dangerous parts of the kitchen will gradually disappear, the safer the environment will be. Third, smart elements. Energy management. It is something that will have a great benefit for all of us, from an economic, but as well from an environmental point. In addition to boosting our efficiency, the devices themselves will be able to tell us when something does not work quite well, or for example, requires a higher energy consumption than usual. This in turn will also help us keep appliances running well and avoid having to invest in repairs. True integration of tech, it will be no longer just an add-on. In the future, the very the kitchen will change, embedded to the point that we don't notice its presence. Lastly, the kitchen will also become the second social hub of the home. We will have smart single-purpose elements which will become multifunctional. And countertops will no longer be used only for food preparation. And they will have entertainment functionalities included, like watching TV, listening to music, cooking tips, communication with other rooms, and digital post-it notes. As well, more digital interfaces will be integrated into the kitchen. We will have touch screens and voice responsive technology. So one example, the Silestone countertop now has a single purpose when it comes to the use. But when it becomes smart, what until now has served as a cutting surface or a platform for kitchen objects will feature entertainment functionalities that until now we only enjoyed in the living room. It may allow users to watch TV or listen to music. It will still help us to cook, but not in the traditional sense. As I said before, it will offer tips, communicate with other rooms in the house, and will have many more options. We will interact with appliances as well as through voice more and more, and this will make everything easier. Our interfaces will be much more digital, probably through touch screens, but also through voice responsive technology. We will speak more with home elements and objects, and this will make everything easier to automate. Artificial intelligence will enable devices to operate virtually unaided. Routine tasks will disappear, as I mentioned before. These functions will be done behind the scenes because the house will learn when to take care of them based on the family's behavior patterns. And as well, in smart homes, we will have a healthier diet and a more orderly life. The need to keep a healthy diet is one of the main challenges for people in the developed world. I think smart kitchens will play a key role in improving the situation and helping us eat healthier by giving us the necessary information and advice so we can enjoy a more balanced lifestyle. So there are 3 things which must happen for smart homes to become reality. First of all, the technology must be simple to us, because otherwise people will not use it on a daily basis. Second, accessibility. So it needs to be affordable for the masses, and the innovation need to be shared. Third, data management. The smart home involves a huge amount of data, and it's really important that this information is kept private and safe. So let's have a look on some innovative products and ideas in the kitchen world. One is to have a smart refrigerator, and it can have, for example, an LCD screen. It keeps track of what you have in the fridge, what are the expiration dates of your food. It can suggest possible menus based on the food you have available, and it can send directly the recipe to your oven. The smart oven pairs up with a smartphone to allow you to control your oven remotely. It can cook several dishes simultaneously. It suggests recipes based on availability. It has a heating unit and a dish warmer included. The appliances can communicate with one another, and they're all controlled by a single device by voice command, and they have 3-in-1 functions as microwave, oven, and steamer, and you can switch between these modes whenever you want, done through a small touchpad or with your smartphone. And imagine, all of this could be even Instagrammable. So you can take a picture of your dish directly in the oven and upload it into your social media accounts. So here are 2 innovations which are already available and exist. The first one on the left side is the sous vide cooking, and it's a method of cooking in which food is placed in a plastic pouch or a glass jar and cooked in a water bath for longer than normal cooking times at an accurately regulated temperature. The temperature is much lower than normally used for cooking, typically around 55 to 60 degrees for meat and a little bit higher for vegetables. The sous vide devices are one of the greatest current technological advances. Using machines to cook at a controlled temperature is a great help to obtaining high-quality dishes. And although this technique comes from haute cuisine, we can now buy these devices for about $100. On the right side, you can see the boiling water from the tap, and there are already companies offering the boiling water from the tap, and it reduces steps in the kitchen, and it helps a lot to save on energy consumption. Another example are ultra compact surfaces, and the ultra compact surfaces are a real breakthrough in countertops. It is one of the greatest innovations in the kitchen when it comes to surfaces, and you can cook on it, you can clean it very, very easily. You can put a hot pan on it, and it's really easy to maintain. As well, a lot of those countertops have a high recycled content, up to 80% or more. Some more examples of innovative products which are already available. Left side, the PacoJet. You just pull out the canister you need from the deep freeze and fit it to the machine, churn out as many portions as you need, and in under a minute you have ice cream or sorbet at the perfect temperature ready to be served. And then on the right side you have the 20-in-3 multitasker from Thermomix. And it's a kitchen machine doing 23 different things as chopping, blending, cooking, mixing, and many more. Another great innovative product is the smart home hub device. And it can check the weather, it can look up recipes, it can control the various electronics in your home. It controls the lights, and it can display pictures of loved ones and even create family albums. And it has many more options. And one example could be the Google Home Hub. Okay. Finalizing this presentation, I would like to show you a short video of how the kitchen of the future can look like. You see the different working heights are adjustable depending on the person and characteristics using the space. The integration of the internet to look up for recipes or to watch television. A lot of things are touchless or single touch function. Everything can be controlled by mobile phone. The kitchen will be safe, a safe environment. If someone falls, it will contact directly the right person. Again, the kitchen as a safe environment. Okay, so now we have come to an end to this webinar, and thank you very, very much for listening. It was a pleasure to be here. And if you have any questions or you would like to discuss the forgotten vegetables or the kitchen of the future, I would like to hear from you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.